people think it's an easy job that anybody can do, but it's really not.
No.
In my opinion, it's harder to be successful at. I mean, yeah, you can have your license and you can close a couple deals because you know a couple people. People are going to put them together. But to be successful, you got to put the work in. Welcome back, Mortgage Daddies. We got a special guest today. The one and only Scott Botelho.
Oh, my God.
Or Bizzo, as we call
A.K.A.
it.
Bizzo.
Oh, my God.
The big guy.
Yeah.
Shredded up, ready for summer.
I don't know about shredded up, but
He's
Or
getting
shredded
jacked.
around.
putting it back on.
Get Balkan season
Stripped it off, putting it back on now.
building it back up.
Yeah.
It's all about the consistency. I talk to him all the time. It hasn't worn off after 20 years of knowing this guy.
One of
I'm
the
still
most
got
disciplined
little
people
arms.
I think we know.
Discipline's my middle name.
Definitely know where he is. He's very scheduled. I know when I'm going to get my text message in the morning.
Motivation.
I know he's stopping at Dunkin' Donuts right around about 8:40, 8:50 every morning because his phone goes in and out of service, so I lose him for about 30 seconds while he's ordering his coffee.
I'm about the easiest man to assassinate
Yes, 100%.
because nothing changes. It's like Groundhog Day, over and over and over again.
I love it.
Same time, same breakfast, same morning routine, workout.
It's working
boom.
for you.
It works.
It's working for you.
It keeps the cabeza nice.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure having you on the
Yeah.
episode with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
We were just talking before this started about like how we met, and before I even worked in the mortgage business, Scott was
A young salesman.
young salesman and is starting his real estate career about probably 5 years in, right? I think it's around 2006,
Yeah, around that. Yeah.
4 or 5 years in.
I had hair.
You had hair.
Mm-hmm.
I was in middle school.
You're still wearing sports coats. I was in middle school. Thanks,
my
man.
God. Was I in the red sports coat for the love of God?
I
The
don't
townhouse
remember.
red? Oh,
It might have been. It might have been. But we're just reminiscing on that story about showing my first house, and young salesman Scott Botelho selling me a house that I didn't fit in the shower. I had to duck to walk up the staircase
Which
to the
house
second
was that?
floor.
It was on Summer Street in the middle of the city. It had a shared driveway on the side of it shared a driveway with a multi-family. I think it was a 2-family, and then there was like 7-car garage across the back, so like no yard. But the funny part is upstairs, the second floor, the ceilings was slanted.
Probably not good
This
for
guy's
someone who's
6'9", right? So
Yeah.
he's in there. So we get this deal going until Jiddo comes to town.
Jiddo's my father-in-law. That's what we call him, Jiddo. And he shows up and he's like,
You ain't buying
Vern,
it.
you can't even stand up in the shower. The shower head's pointing like right around my belly button area.
Tubs
We could
only.
we told you got to get a seat. We can get you a seat.
Scotty was selling that. Like he's like, come on, this is a
Oh,
great
my
deal. I
God.
think it was like $179.
I think it was about that. It may have been less. It was, oh my word.
I mean, it was probably a good investment 20 years later.
Oh,
I
that
could've
same
cleaned
house
up.
right now? High
With the
threes, probably.
garages,
High threes.
moneymaker. I
Yeah.
don't think I could have got financing for that thing. There was not
Remember the
not
bricks?
anything green on this.
Do you
No
remember
bush, no grass, concrete everywhere.
Do you remember the bricks in the basement? Like, it was that house had to be built in like the 1890s or early
They
1900s.
just updated around it.
I'll use that word loosely, updated, but
Yeah, very.
It's
very
sold.
loosely. There's
Somebody
an ask
bought
for
it.
every
They all-
toilet seat. You say
Amen.
it all the time.
Yeah.
They all sell eventually.
Yeah, they do. So that was a funny story. That's how we met. You weren't even doing mortgage. Were you working at CVS at the time? Or not even there
I
yet?
think at the time I was working at the bank. I was a branch manager at the bank. Tried to buy that house. Ended up. I think we put a hold on everything.
Yeah, you
maybe
put-
like a year or so.
Yeah.
And then we ended up buying the house in Dartmouth
Yeah.
with you.
No, you didn't. You didn't buy that with me.
I did not.
You did not. I
bad.
sold it for you.
Yeah, you sold it. Well, he's
Yeah.
done most like 90%
Yeah.
of all my
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
transactions since then. I do remember who I used on that. I used probably the sweetest lady ever. Still talk to her to this day, but she's pushing about 82 right now. Great lady. Great lady. Still in the game. Still in the game.
And then I remember you
Maybe
got
I can
into,
get out.
I can't remember, was it Loan Snap first? What was that loan company you were working for?
I think it was Loan Snap up out of Foxborough,
Yeah,
Dartmouth,
yeah, up there.
BMAC and all those
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
Then I had to leave the bank, go to CVS because I couldn't do mortgages and work at a bank. Who would have thought that would have been a problem?
I think at
Fast
the
forward to some regulations. That
I
was
think
no
at the
rules
time you
back
were
then.
like, we got this, was it the loan lead share network or something? Were you guys running that?
Yeah, I think
Like
so. That
some
was
kind of
like a
network, and you were like, oh, we
networking
got this
group.
thing, we got all kinds of clients coming I can hook you up with. Remember?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You know what? That brings us to a good point, right? So you do a lot of coaching. I coach some of the guys internally, some of the girls internally here at Milestone. And how many times did I have to go into your office and try to get business out of Scott Botelho? And at the time, he was not Scott Botelho who he is today, right? I mean, he was a producing, successful agent, but he's not. I mean, what do you have? 52 pending sales right now as a company?
50, I think. I don't want to bump
Right?
it up.
Don't want to bump it up. Maybe
Gotta
49.
get the work
maybe
up.
50.
Somewhere around
maybe
there.
something close to
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But I would go into this office day in, like two times a week minimum. And the receptionist, who now works over at another brokerage, the receptionist at times like, you don't want to leave anything on Scott's desk.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm going to leave my paperwork, because at the time, this is pre-cell phones weren't crazy. You saw the old Star Tech. There's no text messaging.
So this was Dawn at
Huddleston Ave.
Yeah. Oh,
Over
you
at
don't want to
Remax.
leave stuff on my desk.
So, of course, I leave stuff on his desk.
Did you
You know
get
where
the?
this ends up? Next time I walk in the trash. And I'll let him finish what he said.
I can't remember, but my typical thing was don't ever leave. I'd tell them, save time. Anybody that came in, it was save time, and I would go ballistic. And I'd take it when they come over. I said, come on, let me show you what happens when you leave. Right there in the trash. So do me a favor, just put it in the trash up front, save me a step. That's where it's going to go. There was probably some superlatives in there, too.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Those were the days.
I can't even remember. Oh, poor Brian McLaughlin one time.
Oh.
He left stuff on my desk. I went crazy. But that was the old Scott.
That was the old Scott.
That was the old Scott.
New Scott, much
You've come a
calmer.
long way. Most times.
It was probably one of the more intimidating offices to go into, because at the time Remax back in with Nick and everybody, that was a powerhouse. Like
we were
around
doing-
here, that
yeah.
was a powerhouse.
Yeah.
And I was still a baby. I was an infant in this business, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. The worst case scenario, I'll pick up some of the other agents in the office. Over time,
It
I
worked.
think one of his lenders, something happened, gave me a shot, and really the rest is history. I mean, going on probably
Through
close
all
to 20
kinds of
years.
different
Markets, scenarios.
There was
life-
one company you were with that was rough, though. And I don't want to say the name, but
Yeah, it's all right, Caliber. No one's
that
gonna
actually
pay
wasn't.
attention.
I'm not even talking about that one. I'm talking. I think it was out of Fall River.
Oh,
Anyway.
the mortgage group, way
I
way
don't
back
know.
in
It
the
was
day.
rough. The loans were tough to get over there.
Yeah, that was like that 2010, 2008 range, 2009. Yeah, we've seen some market.
But we
ups
kept
and
plugging.
downs.
We
That's
kept
it.
plugging.
And you know what? We just work every single day to try to get a little bit better.
Yep.
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
you've been able to, over the last 5 years or so, talk about that a little bit. Obviously, we talked about your 2005, started off agent early 2000s. What made you jump into, going to open up your own brokerage, and some of the successes and some of the, everybody sees the success, right? Everybody sees the nice car, a vacation here and there. You and Craig are almost the same. Your guys' idea of a vacation is like going to Cape Cod, going to New Hampshire.
I didn't want to go that far.
No, right? 3 or 4 days, in, out, back.
Yeah.
Refresh, reboot, ready to go.
What are some of the things, though, that really drove you to say, you know what, I'm going to go do this my way? Because you've had some success, but everybody sees all the success. They don't see all the turmoil. Like, I talk to you pretty much on a daily basis, probably a little bit less now than
Yeah,
in the
we're
last
both busy.
10 years,
Yeah.
right? What are some of the obstacles, right? Everybody sees the success that you guys are having over there, but no one sees the work in the back, right? We've had other agents and other brokers on, and it's the grind behind the scenes, right?
I don't like it. There's so many obstacles. You're exactly right, though. Everybody sees the end result. What they don't see is the daily disciplines done consistently over a long period of time, because that's really what success comes from. It's not that everybody looks at this stuff and they see it almost like a lottery. Like success is like a lottery. You did this one big thing that catapulted you to where you are, and that's not the case at all. It's the 23 years of doing the same thing day in and day out, making the right decisions, the right choices, day in and day out consistently for a long period of time. And on the flip side of that, failure is just the opposite. It's not typically one bad decision. It's small errors in judgment repeated daily, consistently for a long period of time. And the reason why we do that is because disaster doesn't happen right away. You don't get lung cancer the first time you smoke, so you keep going. You don't have a heart attack from eating one cheeseburger. But when you make these bad decisions consistently over a long period of time, then you have the heart attack, then you get the lung cancer, then you have the disease. So it's not same thing. Typically, it's not one bad decision that puts you in the negative, or one positive decision, great decision that puts you in success. Obstacles, there's all kinds. I think the biggest thing for me in obstacles are personalities for me now, running a brokerage, dealing with different personalities. I think sometimes, I see what they're capable of, and it's like sometimes you want it more for someone than they want it for themselves, and that's hard to disconnect from. That's what I feed off of is helping people. And so sometimes that's a thing. But, I was just talking to one of my agents yesterday. I'm like, everybody thinks, you're on the list. I send out, videos every morning to a huge group of people. And, I've had several of my agents, reach out, "Hey, Scott, I really needed that today, and I'm like, you know what? I need that shit too. Yeah. Like, everybody thinks I just wake up out of bed every day. I don't have any life problems. I got no health. Everything's just good, peachy keen. No, I just have a good mindset, and I don't let things sink me or put me, paralyze me for a long period of time. It's usually short. I acknowledge it. Okay, what do I got to do to get out of it, and put a plan and just work that plan? So I don't know if that covers it. Like the market obstacles, things that come up in the market, but you got to change with the market. That's all.
I'm glad you brought up your morning routine, because I know it pretty much inside and out. Everybody knows me, and there's not an original idea in my body. Like, I just talk to a lot of really successful people and take little pieces from them and what they do. I've tried to implement a little bit of your morning routine. If you don't mind sharing, like, what your average morning from the time that your eyeballs...
Really simple. I mean, this is what it looks like. I get up when I'm done sleeping, typically. Now, that doesn't mean I sleep till 8 o'clock. I'm usually up sometimes 6, right around there, 6,
You
6:30.
set an alarm, you just wake up?
Unless I have to be someplace, and I adjust my whole day based on my workout. Like, that's a non-negotiable for me. So if I have to get on an airplane, if I got to be at the airport at I'm going to get up at 3. I'll do whatever I have to do to get that done. So, but the bottom line is, when I wake up, the very first thing I do, I go over, I weigh myself, because I have to send in all my stats to my coach every morning. So I weigh myself. I have to log the amount of hours that I slept. Sleep's really, really important. And then for me right now, I take my blood pressure, so I keep track of that. I pray, I meditate, I go downstairs. I read from 3 different books. I read a book on recovery, a book from spirituality, and then something on personal development. Then I have my breakfast. Then I go over to my office. I do my 10 gratitudes, my 10 affirmations. Then I take my pre-workout, head down to the gym. I listen to probably, like you guys get, I listen to maybe 3, 4, 5 of those. Something set my mindset right, or some kind of educational in my field. And then I take one that I thought is really good that day, or hit me. And then in between my sets, I'm blasting it out to all you guys. I do that. I got to get that app.
Yeah.
I do that individually.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you that.
One at a time, and I got a huge list. Too big now. And I got one on social media, too, that I do. So that's what it looks like. I do my workout, come up, shower. I'm on my way to the office. And then I'm in there, and I'm doing my thing. And then I'm there basically till 5, till close, and go home and do it again.
That's insane. The other thing you just mentioned that I just got into...
And by the way, and I know you know this because you've been in a room with me, that's 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It doesn't matter if I'm on vacation. It doesn't matter if I'm on a business trip. I mean, you remember me reading in the same thing. I just don't stop with that.
How long have you been doing that?
I can't even recall. I mean, we were
in Utah. This guy's waking up at 5:30 in the morning because of the time
I can't even remember. Like, so one of the craziest thing in the world I saw. If you've never seen if you don't know Hal Elrod's story, he's the guy that wrote The Miracle Morning. I had a chance to see him. He was a keynote speaker at a real estate convention in Vegas, and it's so funny. So he's got an incredible story. He died like twice, came back from death, but he really went into a bad funk, and he was studying what successful people do. And the craziest thing, like, not everybody does the same thing, but they had these things in common. And basically, it was the same thing I've been doing for years, minus journaling. He's a journaler. That's the only thing I don't do.
So luckily for me, I've known you for 20 years, so I've seen different parts of your life, professionally, personally.
Yeah, you have.
We're not going to jump into all of them, but you just mentioned
We can go wherever you want to go.
coaching, right? And I think, and I feel recently, I would say probably in the last year, it's the first time I really invested in coaching, right? Went out of my way. And I feel like I've always gotten coaching, but from the Scott Botelhos and the other people that are in my sphere. But I went outside the box, found a mortgage coach, and it's not cheap, right?
Oh,
I mean,
we'll talk about that.
I mean, it's not cheap. I mean, for what I pay for coaching, every once in a while I walk into Craig's office, I'm like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. But it's one of those things that I pick up on. If I can just help my loan officers, one little nugget, and it's going to get them 1 or 2 loans more per year, exponentially over time, and it's going to help them, right? So I'm looking at it, but you've been devoted to coaching for years,
Right off the bat,
and doing, going to conferences and just surrounding yourself with the right network. We've talked more about networks in the last 6 to 12 months and how that's really opened up doors, right? Everybody thinks going to Vegas or Salt Lake City for a convention or Denver. It's not about the content that you might be hearing and jotting down a couple of those nuggets. You're going to get that. But can you talk about some of the doors that's opened up for you and the different types of people you've met in this industry and how that's helped you?
Well, that old saying, it's like, so you are the 5 people you're surrounded by. So if you want to grow, surround yourself with people that are at a much higher level. They'll pull you up. So I've made it part of my mission to be in the rooms with people that are selling 500, 1,000, 2,000 units a year. These guys and girls are high-level producers, and just a little. So it's like, why go through the problems if they can show you, don't do this because I did this, right? Yeah. It's a quicker way to get to where you want to go. It's like a GPS, right? So coaching, so getting in the right rooms has allowed me, like I can pick up the phone and call top producers all across the country. I can get on calls, and I need something I can pick up because I've now built relationships with a lot of people around the country. And that comes really, really helpful because we're all like-minded. Like, all of us were licking our chops with this NAR thing. Licking our chops. We're like, oh, yeah, this is for the pros. I can't wait for this, None of us were like, oh, bother, this is going to be a pro. It's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Let's go kick some ass, So it'll elevate you, being around people that are way better than you. You don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. You don't want to be the top producer in the room. You want to be one of the small guys so you can just keep learning from these people. And I've just done that for years and years. I've done that from the very, very beginning. Really have.
You've always, since I met you, more than probably Vern, and Vern's followed a little bit, and I feel like I followed. One of the biggest things you said to me, you can't be afraid to invest in yourself. Whether it's the money you spend on coaching, nutrition, but also in business too. The amount of money that you're willing to spend because at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. If you spend 1,000 and you make 2, well, you're looking at it as, what happens if I spend 100,000? Does that mean I make 200,000?
Right.
Can you touch on that a little bit? Because I find, like, with what you were saying too about the pros and everyone else being so negative, I find like so many realtors or loan officers are just always so afraid, or they're so negative about everything. Oh, Zillow leads are trash, not going to make any money. Oh, this is not good. It's like, well, at the end of the day, what are you going to be doing? And well, why isn't it working? Why does it work for you guys? Because your office has increased this year from last year. So in a down market where everyone else has come down, unless they've added people drastically, you guys have increased.
We've grown over 40% over the last 40% year over year over the last 3 years.
That's crazy.
In what people, my guys are so spoiled. Like, sometimes we don't realize what's going on out there because we created our own market. But on the whole investment thing in yourself, number one, it was funny. I'm a basic guy. I got a 12th grade high school education, but I got a PhD in residential real estate sales. Right. I was talking with Mia this the other day. Right. I'm like, how much did it cost you to get your PhD? In total. Her PhD alone was about $50,000, and the education to get to that point, right? So she probably invested $100,000, right? I've spent that in a year on coaching. So it's like, you got to stay relevant. you know, my job to my agents is to provide them value and keep them what's going on out there right now. And the best way to do that is to align with people that are doing it right now at a very, very high level. So in investing in yourself, it's like, that's a no-brainer. I'll bet on myself all day long. There's nothing, I'll cut out something else before I cut out my personal development and learning skills to increase, right? Because it's all about skill building, right? That's the problem. That's a whole nother topic. On the investment in the business, if you have a proven sales process, investing in it is really, really easy because you know what the results are going to be, right? And so I invest over $100,000 a month in leads for my agents, right? That's why they're killing it. You know, that's why I have agents that are brand new in the business that are out producing local perennial top producers. I'm talking big names in the business. I look at Phil. This guy was a correction officer. That's where I came from, by the way, right? Prison guard, correction officer, no sales skills, been with me for less than 2 months. He's closed one. He's got 2 or 3 under contract. Yeah. Why? Because we have a sales process, right? And I've heavily invested in. I send my agents to a battle with nuclear weapons. Most agents are showing up to a gunfight with a knife. They wonder why they lose. I give these guys an arsenal of tools and resources and coaching so they can go out in the marketplace and crush it. That's where the investment comes in. But on top of that, so if you have a sales process and you build your skills and then you hold people accountable, you don't have a problem in investing. You know, that's why people are like, geez, you know, he's kind of like on top of stuff. Well, you'd be on top of stuff if you were spending over $1 million a year on leads too.
Yeah.
You know, I got no problem giving it to you, but we have a sales process. This is what it is. This works. It's the same process that I did 23 years ago. Yeah. Right? Yeah, we've changed with some technology pieces, obviously, but the process is the same process. And guess what? It's going to be the same process 23 years from now. It's the basic fundamentals, using some of the tech tools in between, but it all comes down to relationships.
I think a lot of people fail at that because they don't do all three.
Right.
They'll spend the money, but then they don't stay disciplined and follow up, or they don't
even know what to say. They're like, oh,
so
yeah, Zillow don't work.
Money.
It works. You look at my green thing. Yeah. It works really well for us because we got a sales process. We know what to say, what not to say, how to book the appointment. There's a process, and it works, right? And then guess what? We work on those skills. We do role play every single week, sometimes twice per week. These guys are working on their skills in our office. Most agents, right, are working on the skills with the prospect. You know, Tom Brady didn't come up with the game plan to play the Chiefs on Sunday. Let's try this out. Yeah. That was all executed well before that. It's the same thing as this. You got to skill build. Practice, practice, practice.
Too many people are afraid or they don't want to put the work in. Yeah. I see it all the time. I know here.
This goes on a whole nother tangent, right? Some of the problem is you got team leaders and brokers that have never sold properties. Yeah. You got team leaders and brokers, right, that are trying to deliver from a textbook. Everything that we do, I did and I still do today. I just do it with differently. Like I'm in the enrollment business just like my agents. They're in the enrollment business to enroll buyers and sellers. That's what they do. I'm in the enrollment business to enroll agents to my office. It's the same process. So I encounter the same things that they do. I have the same challenges, you know, disappointments. People say they come into my office, they go someplace else, people leave. It's the same thing with a deal falling apart, buyers ghost you. Same process. I get fired up. I'm a little passionate.
Oh, yeah, I'm right there with you because I think that's one of the biggest headaches, you know, on our side of things because we go into these marketing agreements with people, and at the end of the day, if the other part's not holding up their end of the bargain,
right,
it's not a good investment for us.
Right.
But I think it's something that can work well for anybody if they put the work and the effort in to do it and stay on it, and you're going to make money doing it. It's proven. I mean, a lot of those top producers that you meet probably have a similar process. They probably spend a boatload of money on leads. They probably have a really good team and process, and they probably have really good marketing and referral partners that they work with because that's also a big part of it as well. That so many people, you hear these things with these agents all the time. Oh, I just, I don't really, try to refer anybody to a lender or a title company if they have whatever. But you're missing so many pieces there that can help put that deal together all the time. I mean, we did a class last night together, and it kind of came up in this, and I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, not to toot our own horn or anything, but I'm sure there's a ton of other loan officers that are just as helpful. But in my opinion, we're such a huge part of getting those transactions put together because there's numbers and there's things that need to happen that you guys as agents need to figure out. And if your agents aren't aware or the agents are not aware of those things, you're just blindly shooting out there. Oh, here's an offer.
It takes a team.
Here's an offer. But you don't know how you can make this offer the best as possible. Before you guys put an offer in, you call us, or you call him, or you call me. Hey, what can we do on this? Where do we need to be at to make this as strong as possible to put the client's best foot forward to get their offer accepted? Everybody thinks oh, you're a realtor, you're a realtor. There's such a large...
They're door openers. That's the difference.
More than any business, I feel like there's such a large difference between
a pro
and everybody else.
I said that. I think I shot I know it was part of a video I posted up. It's like, that's what this is going. Professionals are going to kill it. You know, there's a reason why, 80% of the properties are sold by 20% of the agents, Yeah. They understand the process and they do it. And then the rest don't. But it's like, yeah, it's really hard to teach somebody what you don't know, what you've never done. And I think that I see that around local all the time. Well, I have friends that run the same type of business as I do across the country. Yeah. So I'm nothing unique. I'm unique in the area, I think, in the whole way we do things, And I've done it. I did it as a solo agent. I built a team, and then I built a company. So, it's a proven path to success, right? We got the GPS.
Would you rather take someone green, new, take Phil, for example?
Yep.
Whatever you tell him, you lay the groundwork, you show him the blueprint, and he follows it. Or would you rather take somebody that is more of an experienced agent that's done well over the years, but might not blend into your process?
They got to blend with the process. If the culture's not a fit, you got to go. I've proven that. Anybody knows me knows that. You don't blend with the culture, heave ho. Culture's too important. I'll take somebody. So for me, I love brand new because there's no bad habits. Really, somebody really good to me is somebody has a little bit of experience, does 3-6 transactions a year because they know how to use MLS. They know how to write an offer. They know how to use dot loops. So those things, and then you can teach them the process, and they run with it. But it's so funny, right? I had somebody say to me, "How come you have no top producers at your office?" I go, "I make them." I'll take a brand new person and show them how to do it and let them build and become a top producer. I got people that are killing it.
I'm glad you brought that up, right? So
right?
Craig and I struggle with this. I struggle with it a little bit more because I'm like on that ground level of recruiting and trying to get them, and then I bring them in and I'm like, "Hey, Craig, this guy's brand new, totally green, doesn't know, debt to income, loan to value, nothing. They're coming into your office." I agree with you that agent that's doing, or that loan officer is doing 1 or 2 deals a quarter, right? Because now you can show them the sales process, role play, hold them accountable. The accountability piece is like probably it's at the end, but it's the most important thing because if they're not doing the activities, they're not going to succeed. But just to go full circle on that, you spend all this time getting these agents up and running, getting these loan officers that we're training these guys, giving them the tools, showing them playbook, right? You always say you're
in the contribution business.
Contribution business. You know what? I'll share you anything you want. You want me to open up everything, my training, everything? I'm going to give it to you, because what do you say?
In order to keep it, you got to give it all away. It's the same principles, yeah.
One of the craziest things.
Oh, and by the way, you can give it to them. You hear, some of my mentors, talk about, hey, I have a room full of 500 people who paid to be here. I tell you exactly what to do. You paid to get it, and you don't do it. So let alone, people are going to do it, they're not going to do it. It is what it is.
One of the big struggles for me, mentally, and it takes me a long time to get over it, you spend all that time, right? You're grooming somebody, you're doing everything, showing them the ropes. They spend a year or 2 years with you. They have amazing success. Let's just take Phil, for example, right? He's top of mind right now. A year from now, he's closed. He's a $15, $18 million producer. He's getting calls from all your competitors. We're dealing with the same thing.
Yeah.
And then he's like, maybe the grass is greener. And now I look back and I'm like, I really like that loan officer or that realtor they've already come from somewhere. They already know what they're doing because they know that the grass isn't greener on the other side. And we've joked around with, some agents that have had some really good success with you, going to other places and watching that, unfold. They don't really do the same amount of volume, or they're not doing it at the same rate. What do you attribute that to, right? I mean, let's take a Phil. 12 months from now, he's a $20 million guy. He goes somewhere else. Why does he go to $8 million, $12 million? Like, what do you see as that's why you're in the contribution business, because we know that they're not going to do those certain things.
That's a great question. I don't know if I really know the answer. I think everybody's different. I think it's funny because there was one day I was watching one of those episodes with the Kardashians, right? It was when Bruce Jenner was a guy, and And the two young girls, the two youngest ones, I don't know their names, but they were probably like 14 and 15. And he took them to a homeless shelter. And it was like, whoa, this is how people live. And they're like, because of course they don't live like that, right? Good shock. I feel that like a lot of times with my age, because they're all new, most of them haven't worked anywhere else, right? And so they think it's like this everywhere else. And it's not. We know this, So I think part of the thing, I mean, people think that they have it figured out. That's cool. I don't know if it's the coaching, the accountability, probably. That slacks. I know there's nobody that does the lead flow that we do. I was just looking at my numbers yesterday. We had 732 leads in the month of July come in as of yesterday. That's a lot of leads, guy. If you can't hit a home, you got to get in the batter's box to hit a home run, right? That's how Phil is doing. He's got enough. He's getting in the batter's box, So I think there's nobody that provides a lead flow that we provide for sure. I know that I know that. And then they don't. They may have the process, but then they lose that accountability in the coaching piece and the environment. Yeah. I mean, you come to our office, it's hopping, Yeah.
So, I'm in there once a week, and there's always 10, 12, 15 agents. They're all talking to each other. Yesterday, I heard 2 agents role-playing on their own on the side, and I'm like looking at myself. I'm like, I don't even have this at our office. Like, what are we doing over here?
I try not to spend too much time on that negative piece. It's like people are going to do what they're going to do. I don't know. I don't know why. It don't matter. People want to go. This is America. God bless America. You feel like a better opportunity someplace else, and that's where you should go. I'm not interested in being married to anybody that doesn't want to be married to me.
I always tell Craig, and I joke around with him, like sometimes when somebody leaves, you get hurt.
Yeah,
right.
Hurts.
Like it's a kid. It's like a great friend. You've built this friendship. That first, I would say that first, and we've talked about this. That first 2-3 weeks, there's a sour taste in my mouth. I might be smiling on the outside, but on the inside there's raging inferno, and I'm just trying to figure out how in 3, 6, 12 months. But then it goes away.
It does.
And then you wish the best.
Yep.
And then you feel like you want to reach back out and just say, you know what? If anything changes, the door's wide open, right? This is where you started. This is where you got your education. We still love you over here. But it takes time.
It does. I don't know. I've only been doing that for a short period of time, with the company. But yeah, you almost have to go. It's almost like going through a grieving process. It really is. You're angry, then you're sad, you're disappointed. There's a range of emotions that come through you. And, like I said, I think one of the biggest things is some people that'll paralyze and you're stuck on, you end up being stuck on stupid and you don't. I just keep doing what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. The company keeps growing. And the company will continue to grow. It doesn't matter who leaves, or who. It's just
it's the process.
It's the process, That's part of the the whole recruiting thing. It's some are going to come, some are going to stay, some aren't going to stay. And you just keep on moving, Nobody, although I got something coming down the pike that's going to turn the South Coast real estate market upside down. But that's a whole nother topic.
I feel like we should have waited for Scott to come on Mortgage Daddies after this.
Yeah, it's gonna be on like Donkey Kong. But anyway, that's another story. But
Donkey Kong, I love it.
Showing my age.
Well, I know we don't have too much more time, but got some questions here. What are you most passionate about? What you do?
I'm most passionate about training working with agents. So that's my mission: to lead, teach, and inspire agents to have the, best life they can in all areas, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. It's not just based on business. We practice, there's a lot of talk about health and wellness in my office. That flows off my tongue because that's my inner being. So that's what gets me up out of bed. A lot of we've had this conversation. It's dude, I could just sell houses. I really could.
It'd be fine.
I could sell houses and be super fine.
Yeah.
Right. But that's not what charges me up. That's not what gets me out of bed. What gets me out of bed is helping other. I mean, I love taking a brand new agent, and watch them grow and the lights go on and whoa. That's what gets me fired up.
Sit back and let them rip.
Yeah, man. So that's.
When did that change? It couldn't have always been like that.
No. Really, probably. It's funny you say that. I think that's really happened for me when I started the team. And it's grown exponentially since then because I've surrounded myself with people, coaches, that have really drilled it into my head too about, contribution, and just pouring everything you got into somebody. I would say over the last probably 5 or 6 years, really. And it's gotten stronger I mean, it's gotten stronger each year.
Yeah, I
I
would
mean,
say it got
it's funny.
a lot
People that were
stronger
with me
over the
3
last
years
couple of
ago,
years.
you know, people who were with me 3 years ago, like, oh man, he had a rock and. If you thought we had a rock and rolling agency then, like we're at a whole nother level the way we operate now. I think you get a chance to see it, so you know.
We talk about that. You just keep evolving. Like, I mean, I've known you for a long time, so it's hard for me to sit back and segment different pockets. But 5 years ago, Scott, I mean, call it what it is. Like 12 months ago, Home and Key, 12 months ago, Scott, you're just growing and changing. And I think one of the things that set you apart from a lot of different real estate agents, brokers, salespeople is you're okay with flipping the switch, blowing it all up if it doesn't work, and starting from scratch. Like, or you'll tweak everything out just to make it better. And on top of it, you're adapting to the technology. You're adapting to the times. Like when I walk into your office, not everybody's 55 years old, 50 years old. Not everybody's 25, right? You have a great range of different people and different personalities. I think the culture is the big thing that you guys really, really push over there, and it shows in your agents. Like,
I think you have a lot of success too because you focus on one thing.
Oh yeah, buddy.
Too many.
No, I'm not a commercial guy. I'm not the residential real estate sales. I don't do flips. I don't do
We
builds. I
talk
don't do
about this with
REOs.
us all the time. Like we don't get into
Stay in my lane.
everything. We're not trying to lend on every little thing. We're trying to focus on certain things to make it the fastest, the best process,
Yep.
the most streamlined process, and to have the most educated people in that specific field. Too many times, I think, with realtors, because it's easy, you know, they get into it, they're in the real estate game, they want to get into flipping. So many agents then start flipping. Well, now they're spending all their time running around projects, going to Lowe's to pick up a toilet or going to pick up whatever because they're worried about their flip that they have all this money riding on that's they got a hard money loan on and they have interest now accruing and they're stressing out. Well, you just lost. How do you stay in your process every single day?
You
Or how
don't.
do you, now you're spending all this money on these leads and now do you really have time to work on it because you're worried about your flip or you're building a new construction house or you're doing something else? You guys just do real estate. You just
That's it.
sell and have buyers for real estate. You're not doing anything else.
Nope. We stay right in our lane. We've talked about that so many times. I don't do anything else. It just doesn't make sense to me. For me, I see people do it and they get great success. That's not something I'm
Yeah,
interested
you're
in.
going to have
I just want to
success
stay right
in a lot
here.
of different
This
ways.
is what we do.
I mean, we've had people on that do all those things and they have great success.
Yeah.
It's just a different model.
Yeah. What I like about it's like I
But
don't
I
have
think
any
so
niche.
many people think that they have to get into that to make the next step. But it's proven that you really don't. You can be the best or you can make a great living just doing real estate
Yeah,
and
you
not
can.
having to get into doing flips because also that just takes a lot of the agents that I mean, I'm happy that they're doing well and if they like it, that's totally fine. But I've had a ton of agents that I've worked with over the years that are great buyers agents that were killing it. And then they got into
Distracted.
flips and then their numbers went down. Oh, I don't have any buyers anymore. I'm like, well,
No kidding.
why? Something's different. What do you? Because you're not spending all day trying to lock in a buyer. You're spending all day running around from.
You got to
project
nurture them. It
project.
takes time. You got to be doing that every single day. It's that simple. That's it. Like, there's no magic to this thing. Nobody, you know, it makes me laugh. That's why when people, you know, I'm working. Listen, I know what a money making activity is. You don't give me that. You can't sell me on that shit. I mean, legit. I mean, if they're working 2 hours a day doing what they're supposed to do, money making activities, prospect and follow up with leads that are in their pipeline, that's 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's 10 hours. Then you show them Don't tell me you're grinding out 70 hours a week because I'm going to tell you you're full of shit.
Yeah, you might be.
I know.
You might be at the office, but you're sitting there hanging out and shooting
scrolling
shit.
Facebook and Instagram isn't a money making activity, right? It's all about listen. The basics. At the end of the day, it's all about building relationships, right? Relationship happen from conversations, right? We need to talk to people. It's what it's all about. We generate a lead to do one thing and one thing only: to have a conversation. We have a conversation to do one thing and one thing only: book an appointment. We book an appointment for one thing only: to do a presentation, right? And that's it. That's the pipeline. It's that simple. It's so simple. People mess it all up. They want to avoid the money making activity. Like I tell you, I worked in a prison for 20 years, right? What's the worst thing somebody's going to say to me on the phone? That swear at me and hang up on me. Okay.
Move on.
Move on,
Yeah.
right? Nobody's threatening my life, right? I'm going to kill your wife and kids. That'll shake you up a little bit, especially when they've killed other people's wives and kids, right?
Yeah.
You know, so this is like so
The
simple.
most you're gonna get is
Right, the most you're going to get is go
F off.
That's it.
Yeah.
Don't ever call me.
Hang up.
Oh. So what? Delete them out of the database. Who gives a shit?
Next up.
But that shit paralyzes people. People are like, oh, the phone.
It's not for everybody, and I
It's
think
not.
people think it's an easy job that anybody can do, but it's really not.
No.
In my opinion, it's harder to be successful at. I mean, yeah, you can have your license and you can close a couple deals because you know a couple people. People are going to put them together. But to be successful, you got to put the work in, and you have to be disciplined, and you have to focus, and you also have to continue to get better. It's not just get your license and figure out how to put an offer together. There's so much more to it that people don't understand, and I don't think a lot of buyers or sellers, when they're picking an agent, really understand that either.
They don't. I mean, the stats are like 75% of them will go with the first agent. That's why you want to be the first agent.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you want to pay all that money to get the leads.
Right? I want to get on them first. Right? So I remember my kids are small. They're 20. They'll be 29 and 32. But I remember when they're small, especially my son. Dad, do you have any appointments today? No. Well, then why are you going to the office so I can have appointments for tomorrow? It's like the hardest thing for people, I think, in this business, it's the same in yours, is employing themselves. Because they can do that later. That's why I'm an office guy. I'm in an office Monday through Friday unless I have appointments. Because I need to go to work to go to work. You know, that's me.
I can't sit at home.
You know,
the same way.
You know, I can do some laundry. You know what? There's a good thing coming up on SportsCenter I want to check out. I can do that later. And it never happens. Yep. So that's where the discipline comes in, you know. But it's work. You got to employ yourself. I get it all the time. You do a roll call with probably the same thing in your business, right? Loan officers, real estate. Hey, how much money you want to make? They all tell you six figure, 100,000, right? And I go, okay, so if there are $100,000 jobs out in the marketplace, yeah, you know, there's probably not a whole lot of them, but they're out there. And how many hours a week are those people working to earn that 100,000? You know, 50, 60 hours. Yeah. So, but you want to come into real estate, right? You want to come into real estate and you want to work 10 hours a week and make 100. Does that make any sense to you, right? That's like, oh, I want to get in great shape. I want to go to the gym one time a week. The activity doesn't align with the goal, right? You got to go in there and work. But this is not hard stuff. It's simple. But like Jim Rohn says, easy to do, easy not to do.
Yeah,
right?
That's the problem.
Yeah.
What's a goal for the next 5 years?
It's so funny. So one of the things that I'm not a big future guy. I always try to keep things in the day. I kind of got that one. You know, I'm coming up next couple of weeks. I'll be 13 years sober, and that's one of the principles I learned in there. I try to keep things in the day, and I teach that to my agents. So I don't really get too focused on the future because I can't. Here's how I live. I can't go back and redo what I did yesterday. It's over. I can't go back and re-eat that meal that I shouldn't have ate and eat something better. I can't go back and work out harder yesterday, right? I can only deal with today. And if I do what I'm supposed to do today, then I won the day. And then all I do, so I don't think about the future. Like, I don't think, hey, I can never drink again in my life. I don't think that. I'm not going to drink today. And then guess what happens? I do that again tomorrow. It's the same thing with my business principle. Same thing with health and nutrition, right? I get up today. This is what I'm supposed to do today. I execute all my tasks. I won the day. Check it off. And I keep it in today, and I don't go in the future. Where do I see it? I mean, it's going to continue to grow. I don't set next year's goal until the end of this year. And I set goals to stretch, you know. But I don't even think I have a vision for 5 years. I really don't. And I don't want to get, because you can get distracted with that. If I eat like I'm supposed to eat today, and I do my workout like I'm supposed to do today, and I continue to do that tomorrow, and the next day, I continue to get in better shape. Same thing with my bit. If I make the calls, shoot the video, send the email, send the text today, I just do that again tomorrow. So I really try to stay in the day. It really is. It's a real simple life that way. Because everybody's focused what they should have done yesterday and what I'm going to do tomorrow instead of living in today. And they don't do today, and then tomorrow they go, oh shit, I messed up yesterday. Just stay in the day. So I really don't. I'm telling you, I don't set my goal.
I like that answer.
I really keep it at the end of the year.
That's the first.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've heard that.
Well, most people I feel like say something about their 5-year goal, but I mean honestly, I feel like that's a much better mindset when you really break it down.
It keeps it simple.
Yeah.
If I just, and I tell, the one thing I tell everybody, like, I remember Brian Buffini taught me this.
You can't control everything either, so you don't know in 5 years.
And you're not going to win every day. But I know if I win 4 days of the week, I won the week. And if I won 3 weeks of the month, I won the month. And if I won 7 months of the year, I won the year. So you're not going to be perfect. We're all human beings. We have choices, and sometimes we make bad choices, right? But I really do. I really try to stay in the day, because that's the only thing I have control over.
Stay in the day.
Stay in the day.
Yep. Awesome.
Boom.
That's the way to go. I like it. What advice would you give your younger self? I mean, I've known you for 20 plus years. You could sit here and talk on this podcast for 6 hours.
I mean, for me, I was kind of one of the other things I've learned, this is one of the things I learned in sobriety is to have a pause. Now, it hasn't worked all the time. I can think of a time when I should have had a pause with you, right?
I'm still here to talk about it, and there was no physical violence, so we're good.
No, but, you know, that was like a common behavior prior to getting sober. You know, very emotional, acting on my emotions right then and there. And so I think the best advice would be, you know, and I try to do it to the best of my ability, is like, all right, take a deep breath, pause, and don't act until you have a chance to think it through. That, you know, that would have saved me a lot of heartache, a lot of problems. You know, most of the problems I've had, I've created myself, you know. There's nobody to blame but myself. Yeah, you know. So I don't know, that'd be one piece of advice. It's like,
pause.
Dude, come on now.
It's almost like they tell you, write the mad email, write it,
And just look at it.
save it.
Oh yeah,
Reread
Definitely
it
have had
15
a
minutes
few
later.
that-
Does it make any sense?
Few that I'm like, I probably
'Cause at the
didn't
end of
need
the
to
day,
send
right?
that.
You can't pull it back.
Right.
That's the problem.
You know, so
I think we've all kind of adapted to a little bit of that without
well, I don't know, maybe it comes with wisdom, age.
age.
Yeah, I think so.
You
I
know?
mean, I would definitely say I'm less hot-headed than I was when I got into this business.
A lot. Yeah. I think we all are. I think we just get to the point where we realize we don't know the other person on the other end, what kind of day they're
Hey,
having.
what they're going through.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I remember somebody telling me, like, yeah, you know, I had just gone in on somebody, and they're like, their kid was sick. They're in the
Right.
hospital all last night.
Right,
And
you
I'm
really
like,
doesn't.
I just went.
It doesn't help
Then
the
I feel like
situation
crap.
really ever either.
No.
Never
It makes it
gonna fix
worse.
No.
It makes it worse.
It's hard not to because you're frustrated or you're like, you know, you've done all this and you're at a point where something should be done and somebody dropped the ball. But at the end of the day, you know, okay, well, in my opinion now it's what can we do to fix it?
Yeah.
Not
In the
I'm not
solution
going to
business.
scream at you because of
That
it.
doesn't
It is-
fix it.
It is what it is. I mean, you're going to know I'm disappointed with you.
Right.
But you know, I'm not going to be mad.
Right.
I think that's worse.
But how do we fix
Yeah,
it?
how do we fix it so it doesn't happen again, you know? Everyone's going to make
Well, I think
mistakes.
we've all become a little better communicators over time. Can have a rational conversation more so than that wasn't like that for me years
That
ago.
comes with like age and experience and just life, right? You go through enough life things. It's like being married or having kids, and you're like, oh my God, this is a lot of work. Like marriage is a lot of work. Having kids is a lot of work. I mean, you have 4 of them.
He knows.
Don't have to preach to Craig. But I feel like, you know, if I could go back to like give myself 25 years old, 30 years old, some advice, it would just be that same thing. Just pause, deep breath. Don't send the email. Don't make that phone call. Because I've had some people, you've gone through the sobriety, I've learned from you a little bit of that. And it's like, you know what? He talks about all the time, like making amends. I didn't know what the hell making amends was. I mean, I understood what it was, but I'm like, now I sit back every once in a while and I'm like, I probably should pick up the phone and call this person that I haven't talked to in 7 years, 8 years. This happened. Hey, sorry about that thing.
Always goes good too, doesn't it?
Always goes good. I've never had somebody tell me.
But fear paralyzed because you play out you got the whole conversation in your head before the call even happens, right? Or the meeting. You're
Or they pick up on the
he's
other
gonna say
end.
this, she's going to say that, I'm going to do this. It's like, what? And then nothing goes like that. We build up this fear in our mind of how we're going to go, and usually goes really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, listen, usually they're
heals
just
a
like,
lot.
hey, listen, at least I don't have to worry about you outside of a grocery store attacking me. I've been worried about it for 8 years. Never know how that goes down.
Oh, my God.
Well, Scott, thanks for coming on, my man.
No,
It was
thanks
a
for having me.
pleasure.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
man. I
A lot of good
appreciate it.
information. I think what you talked about with living in the day and only focusing on what you can focus and you know, handling your non-negotiables and staying disciplined and really just not worrying about what you can't control. Stay in every day, do what you need to do, I think is great advice for everybody. And I wish you guys the best success over the rest of this year and the next few years, and hope to have you on again soon.
Thank you.
See you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.